Hello and welcome, friends. Today I have for you a classic Mont Blanc from the beginning of the 1950s. If you are a fan of this channel, this was the second episode I featured, but back then I didn't have such experience in video making, and this review will be a much larger review of the same piece, but I think it is an important piece in the history of Mont Blanc and it deserves a proper story. I present to you the Mont Blanc Meisterstück 146 from 1952, or at least from the early 1950s. First of all, let's identify this model as an early 1950s Mont Blanc model. So, guys, those are general rules or guidelines that can determine the approximate date of production of your Mont Blanc. Now, I am referring to an early 1950s Mont Blanc. And one of the first clues is this logo on the top of the cap. This is a logo of the top of the Mont Blanc mountain, and on the 1950s model, this logo has developed this patina in time because it was made out of a material called casein. So, in comparison with a logo from the 1980s, it looks like this. By the way, this is the Meisterstück 144 from 1983. Okay, guys, so this is the first clue. The second clue, it is much more difficult to determine because this material is celluloid. And if we compare it with the precious resin model from the Meisterstück in the 1980s, you can see that there are not much difference between them. They are both shiny, and I must tell you that at first glance, this is a much more of the resin of the plastic. It's a much more deeper black than the 1950s model. Okay, let's leave the 1980s model aside and let's look at our beautiful fountain pen. Of course, another way to determine the manufacturing date of your Mont Blanc is either the beautiful nib, and I have here a two-tone gold nib. Let me give you a nice perspective. Yes. So if you look closely, this is a 14 karat 585 gold nib, a two-toned nib. It is quite beautiful. And on the back we have the feed. And the feed was changed during time as much as the nibs suffered changes in time. This is a special type of feed that comes from the late 1940s, and it was installed on early models in the 1950s. That's why I'm certain that this model is around 1952, 1953 because of this feed. I think this feed is the most elegant feed that Mont Blanc ever produced. Of course, it is an ebonite feed, but it is quite narrow and it highlights the nib. This is the reason that I love this type of feed. By the way, this type of feed is also known as a ski slope type feed because of the shape of it. Like I told you, it's quite a rare looking feed, especially with those canals that you see. 1, 2, 3, 4 canals. This is the late design of this type of feed, and it's highly appreciated by fountain pen enthusiasts, including myself among them. And another clue that this is a 1950s model are those imprints on the turning knob. We have an F, this is the size of the nib. We have 146, the number of the model, and O point K. I'm not so sure what this sign stands for. So, 146, 1, you must know that 1 stands for Meisterstück or masterpiece. In this case, my model is a Mont Blanc, as you can see, Masterpiece. Wait, why Masterpiece and not Meisterstück? Because this model was intended for the export market. And being an export market, it was done on high standards, like we are used to on Meisterstück lines. So, by the way, guys, I have other models from the 1950s, and this model is a 342. We have engraved the model name on the cap ring, so we have a 342 with a beautiful ink window, blue ink window. Let me show you the two nibs of this beautiful fountain pens. You can see that on the 342 we have a simple 14 karat nib. It's smaller than the beautiful number 6 nib of the 146. And also on the back we have the same type of feed, this time a smaller feed. On this model we have also imprinted on the turning knob the size of the nib, OM oblique medium, and no number of the model because it is on this ring on the cap. So 342. This was considered the entry level series from the 1950s, the series 3. I also have a medium or an intermediary series, the series 2 from 1950s. It comes in its original box with instructions, and why not? Let's check out those instructions. I think these were intended for the German-speaking market. Montblanc, Monterosa, and other types of fountain pens. Yes, there are instructions on how to refill the fountain pens and the ballpoint pens on the other side. I will leave back the instructions and let's concentrate on this model. Again, specific to the 1950s, we have M, the size of the nib on the turning knob. And again, we have Mont Blanc and the number of this Mont Blanc 254. Again, an interesting yellow patina ivory, and you can see it in comparison with the 1980s model. And again, the small logo of the 342, you can see also affected in time by the discoloration of the casein material. There is a legend, some people think that this is real ivory, but I don't think so. Yes, there were the 1950s and ivory was still used, but no, this is not ivory, guys. This is a casein, a type of plastic that in time developed this patina. This time we have a pressure fit cap and we have a wonderful gold nib, 14 karat gold nib. But I wanted to show you the difference between the feed on our Montblanc 146 and this feed, the next evolution in feed design from Montblanc. So if this is from 1952, I think this is from 1955. So those were the 1950s model, and I will leave them aside. And now, guys, I think it is appropriate for you to see the competition, the German competition from that period of time. And I have this interesting and beautiful Schoeneken model from 1953. If we put by side these models, we can see that they are quite different in a way, but quite similar in other aspects. We have the clip for the first part. You can see the multifaceted design of the clip of the Schoeneken. In comparison, the clip of the Montblanc 146 is quite plain and classical. Of course, we don't have the same ending on the top of the cap, which gives the 146 a symmetrical look. But instead, we have the ending on the Schoeneken. Both are interesting models because they are both piston fillers, but they aren't just usual piston fillers. This is the first piston filler mechanism ever patented by Montblanc, and it was known as a telescopic filling mechanism. Unfortunately, this was made only in the 50s till 1959, and this model of the Schoeneken 111 Extra had a special mechanism called the click mechanism, piston filler mechanism. It made simply a click, and it was designed just to avoid accidental ink skips. So both of them have interesting piston filling mechanisms. Unfortunately, the Schoeneken went out of business in the 1960s, but Montblanc lived on. And although this particular model had a period of time, I believe in the 1960s or in the 1970s, for 10 years they stopped making this model and they only produced the Diplomat model 149, which is a much larger model. In comparison, I have here a Chinese copy, and you can see it was quite big in comparison with the 146. But again, after those 10 years, they restarted the production of this 146, and they still make this model with small design changes till present day. So, guys, this is the model. This is a part of its story and of its charm over the years. Some people consider this quite expensive and they think that the trims are made also from solid gold. But no, it's just a well executed gold plating that has stood the test of time. Of course, I will leave the dimensions of our fountain pen on the screen. And for the writing sample, I thought to myself that a Faber-Castell pink ink, but not just a pink ink, a simple pink ink, but a custom-made pink ink. I put some dark blue ink in it, a Parker Quick ink, and the pink has become purple. And I hope you will enjoy this color on the Mont Blanc. My Mont Blanc has a slight problem with the piston filling. You can notice here that this was the original ink window, but it is barely visible because there are lots of ink deposited on it, and I didn't have the chance to open it and clean it as I wanted to. But this will be sent to a professional restorer. You must know that this fountain pen is one of the most expensive fountain pens in my collection. And why is that? Because it's an early model of the 146, and I value it, or the market price is starting from €1,000, and I saw even an asking price of €1,500. So this is a quite special fountain pen, and I don't want to ruin it. Okay, guys, let me open the ink bottle. I will simply dip it. Okay. You would be surprised on the amount of ink that this feed draws. I will put aside that. Okay, let me try to zoom in and maybe let's change the perspective of the camera because I really want to show you the beautiful, beautiful work of this nib. Okay, okay, guys. So let me change the source of light. Okay. So, guys, this is a beautiful, beautiful Mont Blanc Masterpiece 146 from approximate 1952. Of course, this is a German made product made in Germany. And look, they have passed only 7 years till the destruction of the Second World War, and look at the product that the Germans from Montblanc have managed to create only 7 years after the great destruction of the Second World War. So you got to admire that German quality. Okay, Montblanc Masterpiece. This is a celluloid model fitted with a telescopic piston filling mechanism. You must know that this telescopic filling mechanism was produced till 1959, but it was only equipped for the Meisterstück line, the highest line of Mont Blanc. Guys, I have here a 14 karat 585 gold nib. It has two tones, as you can see, and let me show you some line variation. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but there is a little bit of line variation, and I call this a semi flexible nib. This characteristic was a common characteristic of all the German fountain pens made in the 1950s. So if you find a Mont Blanc fountain pen from the 1950s, you would see the same little small variation. Let me do the pressure test. No pressure, and here we have pressure, so definitely you can see some line variation. Let me see how juicy this nib is. You can see quite a juicy nib. Let me try to reverse write it with it. No, it wasn't designed for reverse writing, but you can see it performs. So as you saw on the turning knob, this is an F nib, F for fine. And I guess this reverse writing will be considered an extra fine. But it doesn't scratch and it performs. Okay, let me see how we can do a signature with it. Whoa, quite nice. Review. And why not? Let us see how the fox. So the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So you can see, guys, we have an incredible nib. We have an incredible pen. This was my review of this beauty. Wherever you are, I wish you to have a nice day. I want to thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed this, let's say, second review of this jewel from my collection. If you see such a Mont Blanc beauty from the 1950s, especially with the ski slope type feed, especially with this logo, this yellow logo, just buy it and you won't get disappointed. Just look carefully at the nib before you buy it to be in a good condition. So guys, thank you again for your time. If you've enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing to my channel to support my activity. I wish you again to have a nice day. I will see you again at the next episode. Until then, bye bye.